Since Zane was born, who did the majority of the parenting? And who did the cooking and cleaning?
Me.
All right. Who changed the diapers for Zane?
Me.
All right. And I don't think there's any dispute that Zane loves both parents. Is there any dispute on that?
No, sir.
Okay. And, Mr. Westcott had testified about you being strong-willed. Now, tell me about the situation
Independent, I think is what he said.
independent. Tell me about the situation with the child support payments.
So when we were together, I did most of the paying for groceries. I bought groceries. I bought the food, the electric and water bill. I paid my half of the rent. I paid all of my bills. Sometimes I even helped with his bills and his half of the rent because he couldn't come up with the money. And so I think when it came to child support, it was like, now I have the money, let me throw it in your face. And it kind of made me sick a little bit that he could help then, but he wasn't able to help when we were together.
Well, how much since he moved out? How much did he pay you in child support?
What the fuck? What is he supposed to do? If he ain't had the money then, like, what the fuck you think is going on? Let me just listen.
He's paid around $360 plus the 2 things of diapers, 2 things of formula, maybe 2 things of wipes that he's brought, and a couple things of snacks and a few outfits.
All right, and over what course of time has it been since he moved out?
A year.
When's the last time he helped you with anything?
He brought, I think it was $75 last week, and he handed that to my mom because I was at work.
Okay. All right, so who's the one who historically has been caring and providing the necessities for the child?
Me.
Okay. All right. And since he moved out, what assistance has he given you in parenting the child?
Well, he comes over his 4 hours a week and he plays with Zane, and he'll get him to sleep for around 2 hours while he's there. And some of the other time that he's there, his sparing 2 hours to an hour and a half that he stays when Zane is not sleeping, he is playing with him. And most of the time he does not change his diaper while he's there. He doesn't even ask where the diapers are to change his diapers. He just plays and naps, and sometimes he'll feed him.
And does he stay the whole period?
Not all the time, no, sir. And here lately, he's stayed one time for 4 hours in the past, 3 months.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with nothing that he did. I would have did the same shit. I'm not getting familiar in a place because just the way you're talking, it seems like he's not wanted. And it's not even that he has to seem wanted, but if you feel off in an area, you definitely will not try to get comfortable.
He puts Zane in danger by letting him play with things that babies should not play with. For example, he gave him a driver with a bit on it. That could have been, Zane could have swallowed it and got choked, or he could have been running around with it and stabbed himself. Just careless things like that. He leaves it up on the counter and walks away, and it's a very tall counter with a stove next, on the countertop. Just things like that. Just not thinking.
When did the situation with the screwdriver take place?
A couple months ago, maybe.
Did you observe that?
No, my grandma told me, and my mom.
Same.
Well, we get to your grandma. Any other things that gives you concern with his parenting abilities?
Just not thinking. When he gets mad, he acts out. If you go against what he thinks is correct.
Who is he?
Chase.
Okay.
Chase, Mr. Westcott. He will act out if you go against what he says is true. There were several times when we lived together that he would scare me when...
I could seem really biased right now, 100% biased, but I don't believe nothing that she's saying. Listen how she's talking to him. It sounds like the way he was acting you didn't like. Even when he would do things that everything he did, it seems like you didn't like, because you trying to belittle his character saying he acts out. When somebody's mad, they say shit. Sometimes they even throw things. Is that what they consider fully acting out? Because other people, when they mad, take it out on somebody. He is just being vocal about his discomfort. Okay.
And we would do something argue, and one time he kicked the door in. That was really scary. Then he would speed off in his car and he'd say, "I'm leaving," and he would leave. And then he would come back, and it was all my fault, of course, that he acted that way. One time he left my house angry after seeing Zane, and he wrecked his car. He wrecked it, and it was out of anger. It wasn't raining. It wasn't anything. It was either out of anger or it was because he was on his phone or something crazy like that. But it was wrecked on both sides.
Dang.
He wrecked the vehicle. How long ago was that?
I'm not sure how long ago it was. Probably I don't know. I can't tell you when it was. It wasn't too far in the past.
I don't think, well, even if it was because of anger, I'm pretty sure you had something to do with it. Like, I'm really not putting that much past you, just from the way you talk.
You're so concerned about his behaviors that he was your very first call when your dad had his heart attack, and you asked him to come to the hospital and be with you, didn't you?
I did not ask him. He offered to come help with Zane because it was a very stressful situation. So I did not ask. But when they called the code blue on my dad and said that he was basically going to die, I figured, yeah, it probably would be nice to have somebody there to help with Zane at that moment.
But you
So,
called him. He was your first
I did.
call.
I did call Chase because I wanted him to know what was going on.
And you felt okay with the fact that he could care for the child.
So, did you call or didn't you call? Like, did you call or did you, like, because you just said you didn't call, and then you explained another scenario where you did call. So when she said it, you heard about when you first got the information. Of course you didn't call him when you first got the information. This is why I don't believe you. I'm gonna seem real biased in this shit.
Yes, while everybody is there with us.
You don't like not being in control of things. Is that kind of what it's getting down to?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Because you were well aware before you conceived this child with him that he was in drug court.
Yes.
Okay.
Did he not testify that
He did.
being in drug court, he had to clarify that or had to have that, and that Doug Beecham had to meet with her and so forth before they continued on? Yeah, but that's the point. You said you were objecting to facts, not in evidence. I'm just simply pointing out that what I heard, there was testimony to that. Overrule the objection.
You had to meet with Doug Beecham, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. And so you knew about his history.
I did. Yes, ma'am.
And you chose to have a sexual relationship with him subsequent to that. And you conceived your minor child.
Yes, after I was told that I was not supposed to get pregnant by my doctor.
I'm not beating you up
Yeah.
about that. I mean,
Yeah, I was not supposed to be able to have children.
Okay. And you had a baby and you were engaged to him.
Yes.
And the two of you broke up and you told him, I'm going to let you see this child.
Mm-hmm.
You told him that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And fast forward to you moving in with your mother.
Yeah, ain't really shit I can say about this, but that seemed a little believable with the yes and no questions. Maybe that's what we need to do is ask you yes or no questions. Because once you start getting the other questions where you can start spinning your narrative, you spin that shit crazy like, bro.
You decided that he could only have supervised visitation.
After like weeks and months of him coming over whenever, yes, it made it easier to have a schedule because I couldn't work with my work schedule and work with my parents' schedule all the time to when he just would call and say, can I come over today? We couldn't just drop everything to be there with him.
Okay, well,
So we did make a schedule.
let's talk about this. Let's say the role were reversed and your child was 1 year and almost 5 months old, and the most you'd ever gotten to see your child was for 4 hours supervised. How would that make you feel? How would that make you feel?
Well, it would probably make me not feel good, but I would probably try to do more than Chase does. I would probably actually give money.
Of course it comes down to doing more, right? Why does it always have to come down to doing more? Why are you taking your child's choice? Because remember, the child has to make the choice to want this parent in their life. You're legitimately taking the child's choice and saying, if you don't give me money, because that's all it comes down to. What the hell can he do more? It's like if he's showing up, being there with his child, what more is there? Oh, you want money. So when it comes down to it, the whole shit is just about money. Not even your child. You're at this point, I feel like you're using your child to get more money.
Even when it wasn't wanted, I would probably take care of the child more than just at family events. Or when I was there, I would change the diaper. I would feed the baby. I would do other
You see how she just spinning the narrative though, right? Like the lady tried to ask her another question where she should, because she felt like she got the answer she needed out of her, and she just caught spinning it even more. I did that, I did this. It's like, yo, why don't guys ever compare doing that? Like you don't ever hear a single guy talking about, oh, I had to do, oh, well, maybe. I don't know. I ain't never really seen one. I personally wouldn't care about wiping fucking ass. I wouldn't use it as a thing in a courtroom to say this is what I did. Like I never understood this type of argument.
Other than get the baby to sleep and play with him for an hour and a half.
So you've got him coming to your home for a 4-hour period of time when you, your grandmother, and your mother nitpick him about everything he's doing at visitation. Is that fair?
Somebody's got to nitpick him because his family sure doesn't. They just kind of let him do whatever he wants to do.
When has he been given the opportunity to do anything with this child in front of his family?
When he's there during his parenting time, he should be parenting. We shouldn't have to hover over him because he doesn't know what he's doing. We shouldn't have to tell him, oh, don't let Zane play with the knife up on the cabinet. Don't leave him on the cabinet, Chase. He can't do that. Oh, you've got to change his diaper. You've got to cut his food up to feed him. You shouldn't have to babysit the parent.
You understand, ma'am, that you're under oath and you're testifying right now. Do you understand that?
Yes, and all of that is true.
Okay, and you understand that if you lie during court, that it is criminal in nature.
Yes, and none of that is a lie.
And you're coming before this court when he asked you repeatedly in those text messages that you reviewed with your attorney. He asked you, why can't I have him? The only thing you ever said is he's more comfortable in my home. You never said you're an irresponsible father. You never said you're not providing for him. As a matter of fact, you blocked him on Venmo, didn't you?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you refused the $75 that we talked about $75 that your mother received from him. He had asked you to take it from him before that. Yes or no?
Well, there's 9 different statements, but you're going to have to make it in the form of a question. Sustain the objection.
So you blocked him on Venmo. That's the only part I would like to talk about in this whole scenario, because we already know you lying. You're blocking him on Venmo, and I bet you're going to say some stupid shit like, why can't he just give me cash? No, we have to have a paper trail because you are like this. That's why Venmo will tell you and show you every time you send money. You're trying to get away with some shit. And then what's to say he do that, right? He does that. After a little while, you're going to be asking for more bread, and then you're going to end back in court. And he's going to say, yo, I gave you this much. We see it in court all the time. I gave her this much. And you'll be like, no, you didn't. The whole time he did. I've seen a court case, the dude gave Shorty $10,000. She lied and said she didn't get it. Spent all the bread, closed out the bank account, and she said he took the money out before you closed it. Okay.
You don't take child support payments from him, do you?
Yes, he leaves it there.
Blocking on Venmo?
He should. That makes it so much easier on him to just Venmo me instead of going to the bank, doing everything the easiest that it can possibly be done for Chase. And he's done that the whole time we've been together.
Why would you not want it to be easy if he's going to send you money? Why would you not want that to be easy for him?
Overruled.
Why would you not want that to be? He's in school and working, and sending you a Venmo is a problem? Yes or no?
Why does it have to be like, why can he not bring me cash?
You answer questions.
Yes, it's a problem.
Okay. Why?
Because it's so much, because it takes one more thing off of Chase that he has to do. He works and goes to school and that's all he does. He's 32 years old.
Okay.
He should be able to do that without any problem.
Is he stable? Yes. I'm not answering questions. You are. Tell me how having a job for 2 years and being in school for 2 years is not stable. You're living with your parents. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. And he's just 5 years older than you? Okay. Similarly situated. Is that correct?
Kinda.
He's bettered himself since you two separated. He's gotten a better paying job. Is that right?
He had that job when we were together.
Yes. He's gotten a raise. Is that correct?
I don't know his money situation.
Okay, you heard that he's making $23 an hour. Was he making $23 an hour when you two were together?
I don't know. He lied so much. I didn't know the truth
Okay.
from the not truth.
So now we're around to the fact that he's a liar.
Absolutely.
Okay. He was kind to you in his testimony. You don't think he was kind to you?
He was kind during his testimony, but this week when I needed some space and some time, he was not kind.
So
No,
when you
ma'am.
called him and he dropped everything to go to the hospital?
Not that. After that, when I had to
Oh,
cancel
okay.
his visitation with Zane, he got very ugly with me the second time because my dad was coming home from the hospital and we had to be there to help get him in. And he was ugly about that.
Because you canceled on him again, right?
yeah,
Two times.
Yeah, because my dad had a heart attack and Zane has been sick with the croup this week. So it's a lot.
If you hadn't seen your child in a period of 7 days and somebody kept putting you off and the last time you saw your child was for less than 4 hours, would it not upset you for somebody to continue to put that off?
Well, he has 4 hours to stay. It didn't have to be less than 4 hours.
Okay, when was the
First
last
of all,
when was the last time you spent 7 days away from this child?
never.
Okay.
Second of all, I would hope that
You see how it's going, right? Like, she's getting clear-cut answers. She don't care. She's like, I don't care. I'm the right one in this scenario. No, you're not. At this point, I think you got something wrong with your head. Fellas, be careful. This could be your future.
And you scheduled him, you told him when he could come to your home, is that correct?
this is one time in a year. One
You-
time.
You told him when he could come to your home, is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
You set his schedule for
He
his
set
weekly
his schedule. I
visits.
asked him if he wanted 2 hours for 2 days or 4 hours for 1 day, and he said 4 hours for
And
1
you
day.
set the schedule for when it starts and when it finishes, correct?
You see how she tried to justify the whole shit by, ma'am, who the hell is gonna come 2 days just to spend 2 hours? Like, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna show up to see their kid just for 2 hours and leave? And I used to, this used to be the stipulation. Like, this is probably why I feel some type of way about this shit. Cause it's like, yo, bro, my baby mom used to do the same shit. It's like, yo, don't put no stipulation on how long I get to see my child because you feel some type of way. Like, this has nothing to do with you. But for some reason, your feelings matter over the kids. I don't get it.
No, when it starts and when it finishes is not been answered.
Overrule the objection. Restate your question.
You told him when he could arrive and when he could stay till, is that correct?
I did, but we
Okay.
have been doing when he gets home from work. So whatever time he gets home from work, he start the 4 hours, and then 4 hours after that he can leave. But normally he leaves before that.
So why can't we just let him have the child for a couple of days at a time so that he can actually spend time with the child? You don't have to look at your lawyer for an answer for that.
Not because it would be the child would be very unnerved being away from his mother that long and being with a father who he knows for 4 hours at a time.
Okay, but you've created that, correct?
No, ma'am.
First, you complain he's not doing enough. Probably you're definitely gonna say he's not spending enough time. First, he's not spending enough time. You won't give him more time, but he is the problem because he doesn't do what you said.
Now, let's talk a little bit about when this was filed. When this is filed, you can agree that Mr. Westcott tried to get an agreed order of paternity since he had signed off on the acknowledgement of paternity, and you contested paternity. Is that correct?
Yes.
For what reason did you contest paternity?
Overruled.
Why did you contest paternity other than to keep him from having visitation with his child?
That was not it. I never wanted to keep him from having visitation.
Okay.
Clearly.
Then why? Oh, clearly?
Yes, because we let him come over 4 hours every week.
And by we, that's you and your mother and your grandmother.
Yes.
So are y'all a team?
No.
Can you agree your family sees him more than the biological father sees the child?
Yes, because they babysat him while I'm at work.
Okay. So why can he not babysit while you're at work?
Because he's at work also.
Okay. But if he's available, if he's off a day, why can't he babysit?
Because he's irresponsible as a parent.
You required that he take a paternity test, but in court today, you can't tell this court why you required him to take a paternity test. You knew he was the dad. Did you question paternity?
Yes, but kind of.
Then did you lie to him about never cheating on him?
Yes,
Have you been dishonest with him?
one time.
Oh, just one time.
Yeah, just one time.
Who could the other father have been? She says that she.
And you act like this though, like you she's acting like this, like you have the audacity, bro. Some real big balls you got.
And during that time, there were times when you would run an errand and he would take care of the child. Was that correct?
I would maybe 2 hour, 3 hours max when I would go to work.
And so when the two of you were together, 2 to 3 hours while you were at work wasn't a big deal. But now that the two of you are separated, you can't manage to allow him to have this child for 2 to 3 hours. And is that correct?
I had to work and I had to have somebody to watch him on the weekends.
And he was good enough.
He would badger me on Friday night because I would want my grandma to watch him, and he would badger me until I finally just gave up.
Because
like
he
until
wanted-
1 a.m. he would be up yelling at me.
Because he wanted to be a dad. Is that correct?
No, because he wanted to be controlling.
You're before this court having offered him 4 hours of supervised visitation since the two of you separated a week, and you're telling me he's the controlling one? I mean, I'm just trying to sort this out. I don't get it.
Well, whether you get it or not is not the issue. Any objection to this argument?
Have you sought any mental health treatment in the last year?
No.
When you were crying all the time after the baby was born and said that what happened at the ball field, you were having a hard time not crying all the time. Did you seek help at that time?
No, because I was made to believe that it was postpartum.
Okay. And that's fine.
And I'm pretty sure that it was probably a little bit of postpartum and some issues at home, but
okay, so now you're saying he
mental.
In all of those text messages, when he asks you, why won't you let me have the minor child? Why did you list all these terrible things you were saying about him?
I didn't feel the need to. I was a little scared at the time to say all those things.
But this has been the history of your text messages. These text messages in June are not the only text messages that the two of you have. It's been the same answer for him in every text message where he's asked you. Is that correct?
Yes, around about the same.
You understand, you and he had this relationship, and you understand that he is the biological father of this child. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that under the law says that he has a right to see the child. It's just dependent on what schedule, but that it is required that I set a schedule for him to have contact with this child.
Yes.
And are you aware, maybe your lawyers told you, that our state legislature has moved towards an equal residential schedule, meaning that there's a presumption that an equal residential schedule ought to be applied unless the court finds that, there's valid reasons why or that it's inappropriate in a particular case. Now, that rarely ever gets applied in these cases because there's always issues between the parties. But you and he had this relationship after you knew he'd been in drug court, correct?
Yes, sir.
You also had this relationship after you knew or saw whatever those issues were that he had, right?
Yes, sir.
And if he takes and passes a drug screen, is there any reason other than what you talked about? Parents have different ways of parenting their children, and I certainly don't diminish putting a child of that age in a dangerous situation. But the two of you chose to have the child together, and as a result, he's going to be able to see this child. It's just a question of how we progress in that situation. Ms. Duke asked you about how you would feel if you only got 4 hours a week, and you wouldn't like that, I know.
Right.
It would be traumatizing to you, wouldn't it?
Yes,
That's
sir.
because you've had this child with you every day, every single day. And there's a special bond between a mother and a child. But there can be a special bond between a father and a child as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And so what you understand what my job is to try to ensure and to not protect, but to encourage that bond between him and his son. To do that, I'm going to put an order down since you two have had an opportunity to try to resolve this by agreement. You haven't been able to. So I'm going to put an order down. But listening to you, I understand your objections. And for example, I wrote down a couple of things. One of them was you didn't want to do the Venmo because it made it easy on him and that all he has to do is go to work and so forth. And that's resentful on your part because you've had to take care of this child, but you've had your parents, your mom, your grandmother. You've had to take care of this child by yourself, more or less. But wouldn't it be good to have him have to shoulder some of that responsibility and to do the things that a parent should do?
If I could trust him to be able to do those things, but my trust is very little in him.
I understand. That's why it falls to me to have to make those decisions.
Sir.
So when this decision gets made, you can blame me and not him. What I want you to understand is whatever's happened between you and him is in the past. Where we're headed from this point forward is what I think is the appropriate thing to do, because the two of you can either way, you can always agree on something other than what I do.
Oh, she not agreeing on shit, my boy. But lovely talk you having with her. Let's see how it turns out.
See, his child, by law, is not dependent on whether or not he's paying child support. Same thing goes. His right to, his obligation to pay child support is not dependent on whether he's seeing the child like he should. And the reason for that is because if one parent denies the other one the obligation, or rather the opportunity to see the child, that person will be in violation of the law and a court order. If one parent fails to pay child support, he will be in violation of it, or she would be in violation of the court order. What that means is both of them would be in violation, and we see that sometimes. The mother refuses to give visitation because the dad's not paying child support. All that means is they're both in contempt of the court's orders, and they both go to jail. You understand that? I want you to parent your son. I want him to parent your son. You're going to have to understand that the trust is going to have to come from, some of the small steps that might have to be taken to build that trust. But we got to start somewhere, and having 4 hours visitation in your home with you and your mom and your grandmother overlooking him in his visitation is not a way to build trust. It's going to have to be done in a different scenario. So that falls to me to have to do it. So I just wanted to talk to you about that because of the simple fact that it clearly is it is obvious to me that you have.
Judge, you don't gotta sugarcoat it for us. She gonna have to buck the fuck up and accept it. She has been wrong the whole fucking time. Whoever she's listening to, her moms and her grandmother, definitely wrong. Like, don't sugarcoat shit for her, because they don't sugarcoat shit for the guy.
You have some resentment towards him because you feel like you had all of the responsibility and he's had none. And that's understandable. But we're going to fix that problem from this point forward. He's going to have some responsibilities of his own. All right, step down. Mr. Baker, you may call your next witness.
Judge, I will ask while she's getting on the witness stand. You said back to the date of birth on retro, but I think, would it not be back?
Probably a date of separation.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
Can you step up, please, ma'am? Raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Hey, if you would, state your name for the record, please.
Sandra Faye Harris.
Harris, how do you know Ms. Tittle?
My granddaughter.
All right. And have you had an opportunity to observe Mr. Westcott and Zane at your home?
Yes, sir.
You have relayed to me a couple of things. Can you relay what concerns you may have with Mr. Westcott's parenting?
Well, I'm there every time. He's there every Monday. And every time we have to stop him on something, he's put Zane in danger. For instance, there's a island, and there was a knife with a cake and stuff, and he flops him up there, and first thing baby's going to do is grab the knife. And me and Lynn both, we just dove. Before we get the knife, he set him down there again. And another time, he set him on the counter, and he's 13 months old.
That's you, huh? Yeah, you the one started all of this. You talk just like her.
Then once he was feeding him, kept feeding him, had a mouthful, gave him something to drink. Zane got really bad. He runs to the door, and me and Lynn runs over there to get Zane. And then not long ago, he just kept throwing him up in there.
Hold up. Let's go back. That's kind of important. You said that Zane was...
Yes.
And what did Mr. Westcott do?
He ran to the back door like, he panicked. He absolutely panicked.
Okay.
And Lynn and I, we got Zane, and we got him under...
Do you remember when that... How old was Zane when that happened?
I'd say between 13, 14 months old, 16 months old. Little, yeah.
All right. And there was another situation.
Now, I'm not justifying what dude did if that really happened that way, but y'all ain't making it no better on yourself by basically downplaying the action, saying it. Like, I don't know, that shit sounds far-fetched, because think about it. Even if he put his kid on the counter with a knife near it, what the hell does that matter? Like, what matters if he pays attention or not that the kid is there. But I don't know. I would have to see this situation with my own two eyes to give you my correct assessment. But there ain't no correct assessment because I can't see it.
Situation, you said something about it.
And he was playing with him, throwing him up in the air and everything. And Zane's little eyes, you can see his little eyes like Robert. I said, Chase, you can't do that. He said, I do it with my nephews. They love it. Well, Zane was in between a cry and a laugh.
Right.
And I told Chase 3 times, Chase, stop. Chase, stop. And finally I said, Chase, stop it. And he finally stopped. And I told him, I said, Chase, I said, his little brain is still.
How much money y'all bet she had the most evilest smile on her face? Like, yes, I got him to stop.
Still forming in there and stuff, and it flops around. I said, you cannot do a baby like that. And he said, well, I play with my nephews like that, and they love it.
How old was Zane when that happened?
That was about a month and a half ago, probably.
Throwing him up there?
Yeah, you know how you do an older kid play with him, but Zane's a baby still.
Did he appear to have any, Mr. Westcott appear to have any back problems doing that?
No, he plays very well with Zane and toting him around and get down with he's got a bike and he'll go all around the kitchen with his bike and just run him around the kitchen. And no, he has shown no symptoms of back trouble. Now, one day when his mom was there, he was pitiful with his back.
Both lately, you seem to be okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there was another situation about a driver or something.
Yeah,
I'm going to object to the leading judge. If he wants to say, is there anything else? I don't think he gets to lead her down a rosy path.
Didn't pre-plan an answer. Foundational materials accepted.
Oh, he sure did.
So are you two going to finish your argument among yourselves, or do you want me to rule on the objection?
Rule on the objection, Judge.
Sustain the objection.
Any other concerns with Mr. Westcott?
Yeah, I think I'm there every Monday because Lynn, Caitlin's mother, the baby's grandmother, is there. And Chase, you have to keep an eye on him because he puts him in danger at least once, sometimes twice. I don't think it's purposely. I think it's just he doesn't think about the danger that he puts him in. And there's several things that he has done that just concerns me.
Then put the kid in a bubble then, because everything in life is dangerous. There's no place in here that isn't dangerous. You talking about that the island, the corner of the island, him running around on the bike, that's dangerous, but you just said that. Okay.
And there's several things he's done like that it concerns me highly for Zane's safety.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell the judge relevant?
Well, he goes to his car several times during the visit. That's every Monday he does that, and don't know what he's doing. But he stays on his phone most of the time, either texting. He's got to where he talks some. When he's playing with Zane, he's either texting or he's something other. But it's not, his attention's not on Zane all the time. It's more his phone than anything.
Mr. Dukes is going to ask you some questions.
Guys, do not parent like women. Y'all over-parent. Especially y'all. Y'all definitely over-parent because y'all make it seem like y'all always have eyes on the child. Like somebody's old. I don't think them kids going to grow up to be nothing but real pieces of work.
What has he done right? What has Mr. Westcott done right?
Well, you know what? I can't answer that question because I don't know what he's done right because...
You're not willing to say what he's done right, are you?
I am willing to do right.
She said, I don't know.
She did say, I don't know.
Yeah,
but is there anything further that she would ask? Just make sure you pause long enough for her to finish your answer.
What has he done right?
Well, nothing that I've seen he's done right because all I know that he has done is he has come over on Mondays, but he always is trying to get out of child support. He wants to get out of child support. The other day I asked him, I said, what did you bring Zane this time? And he said, well, I was going to give some money to Kaylin, but Kaylin told me her hands was full.
Judge,
well,
you can say it.
Kaylin said my hands was full and I couldn't take it. So I told Chase, because it had been 5 weeks since he had done anything. And I said, Chase, you can give it to Lynn. Make sure her and Zane gets it. And he slowly, it took him about 5 minutes to get out of his car.
Okay.
And
you know that
I know what?
Kaylin has, Miss Tittle has blocked him on the payment app. Did you know that?
Do you know why?
Okay. No, but did you know?
Yes,
I don't
did.
have to answer questions.
Yes,
You
I-
answer the questions.
Yes, I did.
Okay. What sense does that make to you if you're saying he's not responsible for child support, but she's blocked him on an app where that he can just Venmo her money?
Why can't he just give it to her? in
Why
a
can't
check?
he just Venmo it?
Even she don't want the paper trail. Like, he has to have the trail, ma'am. It's child support. He has to have the trail. As either they take it out the check or he gives money, but it needs to be a paper trail. And me giving you cash doesn't have a paper trail unless you're gonna start writing receipts, signing your name on it. But why, Master?
For Ms. Tittle to complain about child support, but block him from an easy mechanism for him to pay her.
There's more than one route to pay child support.
Okay. But what sense does it make for her to complain about it if she blocks it?
Because he torments her on every app that he can get. He torments her.
How does he
You don't
torment
know.
her?
He's always threatening to take Zane away from her. He's always threatening her.
Where's the proof of that today? Do you have one text message, anything
I've
that
heard him.
Okay.
I've heard him on speaker.
Can you tell me today, sitting here, what business of it did it have to do with you, or did it have to do with Miss Tittle's mother, for the two of you to be present at visitation when he doesn't have anyone present in the home that Miss Tittle and her mother live in? What business is it of yours to be there?
Well, Lynn lives there.
Okay, but what
And
business
I'm-
is it
I'm-
of yours to be there?
I was asked to come because every time he came in and Kaylin was there, she was crying. He would just torment her. She was crying. So he was finally told, her dad told her, said,
Yeah, wait. Wasn't it earlier she was crying uncontrollably for a while? Matter of fact, let me stop talking because I'll be talking too much.
now you're not going to be here because he's tormenting you.
Then why would y'all not let him take the child to his mother's house? You know his mother, right?
I
Yes
do
or
know
no?
Nancy.
Okay, and she's a responsible person.
Okay.
Okay, yes or no? She's a responsible person.
I can't answer that. I don't know her that
Okay.
well.
Then why would you guys not allow him to have visitation away from the three of you who henpeck him?
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, you couldn't. Well, I think it's true. What
Restate-
else is it?
Restate your question.
The three of you can't find a dang thing that he's done right in a year. Can
Is that a
you?
question?
Yes or no?
Are you asking for all three of us or just me?
Well, I know Miss Tittle didn't have anything kind to say. Do you have anything kind to say?
I can't say nothing positive he's done. No, I
Okay.
can't. No.
Then tell you know his family members. Everybody
do.
that's sitting here,
And
doesn't she?
they're a good family.
Okay. Why could he, if he's not a perfect enough person to have visitation on his own, but you're good enough to supervise, her mom's good enough to supervise, she's good enough to supervise, why is Ashley not good enough to supervise his visits over the last year?
It was never asked.
Is that what Miss Tittle's told you?
No, that's what I think. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. No.
So you don't know.
Yes, you do. You're a goddamn liar. You know the truth. You telling me they did? Yes, they told you everything that was happening. You read all the text messages and all that, so you could say whatever you want. You can act oblivious. I am not stupid.
Then why is it not good enough for his family? If you're good enough and her family's good enough to supervise his visits, why is his family not good enough?
Nobody ever said they wasn't good enough.
Well, nobody's ever really let his family have the child by themselves, have they?
No.
Okay. And you said that the only time you and her mother and Miss Tittle said that the only time that they could see the child was in the mother's home. Is that correct?
What was said when Nancy and Jamie came over they called for a meeting. My mouth was dry. They was told, and Kaylin told them also, anytime they wanted to see him, they was allowed to see him.
Over at her home.
That was never said that. And
Judge, that's all.
Any further, Mr. Baker? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may have a seat in the courtroom, or you may leave if you'd like. Mr. Baker, you may call your next witness. The rest of their proof. Do you have any rebuttal proof?
Nothing.
You wish to be heard in argument, I'll hear you. We're going to take a short recess for me to think through this, and I'll come back and give you my opinion.
Thank you, Judge.
All rise. May be seated.
Probably the most difficult part of this job that I have is arriving at decisions that impact families and children. Sometimes there is no good solution to the problems that persist or that present themselves. Other times it's trying to come up with an agreement or a plan that benefits both parties and the minor children. But as I've said over and over again, my responsibility is to promote and encourage a relationship with both parents and in keeping with the best interests of the minor child. So as a result, I'm going to make a finding that the parties have the paternity is established. And the fact of the matter is there's no question that he is the biological father, and both sides acknowledge that. So paternity is established. Then I move to the question of the adoption of a parenting plan. That requires me to at least consider the factors about who should be designated as the primary residential parent, even though it may be on a temporary basis. Those factors that I'm required to consider are set forth in Tennessee Code Annotated 366106, and they include the following: the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, including whether one parent has performed the majority of parenting responsibilities relating to the daily needs of the child. In this case, the proof is clearly established that Ms. Tittle has been the primary caregiver for the child, rightly or wrongly, or whether that is fair or unfair, but that is the fact. Mr. Westcott has had limited time with the child, at least since their separation, and therefore that factor clearly favors the mother. Each parent or caregiver's past potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities, including the willingness and ability of each parent and caregiver to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between.
I don't agree with the beginning start of his argument, because it's not really hard. You see the unfairness in it, so why are you saying it's hard?
These cases where a mother who has a child, especially children born out of wedlock, but it also affects children who are born during a marriage. And because of the biological nature of the situation, the mother who carries the child for 9 months and then gives birth to the child has a special bond with the child and believes that that gives her a superior right to have custody of the child. In fact, there's a statute in the state of Tennessee that says a child born out of wedlock is presumptively in the custody of the mother. It has been for many years the fact that a father could only get custody of a child when he proved the mother to be totally unfit. That used to be the way it is. It's not that way anymore. And in fact, our legislature has moved towards the fact that both parents need to have a equal, if not equal, at least a shared parenting type situation. And I have to consider all of the facts. But in this case, it's clear to me that Ms. Tittle has great love for her child and great protection for her child, but that she has allowed her resentment of Mr.
Don't lie like that, Judge. She don't got no great love and no great protection. She's in it for the money. You could say whatever you wanted. You heard it out her mouth. She's in it for the money.
Westcott to cloud her vision about what is in the best interest of her child as far as encouraging a relationship with him. There's been some proof regarding the issues that Mr. Westcott has had in the past, and I acknowledge those facts. But there's no evidence before me that indicates to me that he poses a threat to the safety and well-being of this child. I do find that she has restricted his time with the child, and that she's done so perhaps out of an abundance of caution, but also I think the proof has been in watching her testimony and the demeanor of her and her family as they testified, but that's also partially because of the resentment she may feel towards him. Her terminating the Venmo account because it made it too easy on him to support this child, and then that just, again, it speaks volumes in this court's opinion regarding her attitude about him and whether or not he should be included in this child's life on an equal basis, or at least a regular basis. So I find that factor favors the father more than the mother. The refusal to attend a court-ordered parent education seminar is not before the court, and neither of them has attended. As far as I know, both of them are ordered to attend and complete that education seminar. Disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care. She's obviously been the one who's provided all of that care so far, with the limited exception of Mr. Westcott having finally come around and offered some money to her, or tried to give her some money. that doesn't necessarily favor her. I think he would have been willing to contribute to that. The degree to which each parent has been the primary caregiver.
Judge, does that mean both on number 4?
On number 4, in my opinion, it favors both. Evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child, I don't find that any of that applies. Character and behavior of other persons who reside in or frequent the home, again, I don't have any evidence of anything that would apply to either.
I'm pretty sure we done. Nothing else exciting is gonna happen. He's basically reading the final preliminaries, and he's gonna side with the guy because out of everything that he was hearing is like, yo, y'all sound real biased and real pushy. He has to side with him. It's unfair to him. Like, y'all seen nothing he did right. Come on, you're the type of people they would not call you for a jury. For me, you don't have an open mind. You see something and that's the way it is. But just didn't like that the judge was kind of soften the blow for her. Don't soften the blow, let her have it. Shit, it was her choice. Fuck you mean. But y'all, don't forget the comments is open. This was a pretty long one, so if you stood here to the end of this one, you was one of the ones.